Yeah, I will probably be in that same boat. Baseball and soccer, spring soccer, are starting up here soon. So
There's a lot of things I like about it. Like then the majority of my water is like in, by like noon.
yeah.
And I don't really have to drink that much water for the rest of the day, which
Hmm.
sounds silly, but like drinking water is a task, and then when you go to sleep, I don't have to wake up to pee ever because I train in the morning.
Right.
So my caffeine's in the morning, my water is all in the front half of the day.
Hmm.
Um, all my food is kind of in the front half of the day. The back end, I don't really need to worry about any of that stuff. So like it's not just about getting the training done um and over with, it's about getting all that stuff done and over with,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
really, when I was training in the morning, I really enjoyed that too. It's like it was one less thing for me to have to try and do in the afternoon. And if I had an afternoon where there was busy stuff, and normally it's like, shit, I got to squeeze my training in, I don't even have to worry about it because it's like, cool, it's already out of the way.
Dude, there's so many nights where work will run long,
Hmm.
or you get caught on a stupid, you know, service call, and you got to train legs, and you already ate your pre-workout meal because you thought it was going to be a quick call,
Yep.
and and then you get stuck on a complicated service call, and like, then you're stuck there for 2-3 hours, and then sometimes you don't get home until 7 o'clock at night, and it's like, what, you're supposed to train at 7 o'clock at night, and supposed to be up in the morning, like to be on work. It just, once it all backpiles to the end of the day, like it's over, dude.
Yeah.
So, I long story short, I just love getting it over with in the morning. Um, the first few weeks are an adjustment. You feel kind of weak in the morning and stuff like that. Um, but there are ways to like optimize your hydration, and I make that key. Like as soon as I wake up, I have a specific drink that I have.
I was just gonna ask, so what do you do when you wake up and you're training in the morning? Like what is that time frame from the moment you wake up to the time you go train? Like what is that time and what do you usually do?
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll wake up, I get up about 3:30, and then I have my drink ready on my bathroom counter. So as soon as I wake up, I go in there and drink it, and it's 30 ounces of fluid. Um, it's got
Hold
some.
on really quick. You're for
Mhm.
some reason you are lagging.
Let me see.
Like your audio is about 2 seconds behind your video.
How about now?
Same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me try to leave and rejoin. Is
Yeah,
that
try
going to
that.
mess you up? Okay. Is that any better?
Way better. There we
Okay.
go. It
Okay.
was
Cool.
weird. Like it started doing it and then it corrected and then it just stayed like sep but no, we're good now. Okay, so let's start from you're training in the morning. What time you wake up? You're drinking 32 ounces. What's in that drink? And
Yep.
what
So
time are
in
you waking up?
Yeah, I wake up about 3:30. In that drink is about 32 ounces of spring water. And then I do add some electrolytes in there. So it's called Body Bio Elite.
Hmm.
And essentially the cool thing about the formula is it's supposed to be very specific to the ratio of our body, as far as sodium and potassium goes. Um, so the way they have that set up, it's supposed to be like a good ratio for us. Um, so, are you still there?
Yeah, my video was being weird.
Oh, you're all good. Yeah, so I do like a cap of that. I do some Redmond sea salt in there, and
Mhm.
then I do a scoop of gut revival. That's AJ Sims digestive support supplement. And then I'll take a few things with that in the morning, like my Tudka and L-theanine and a couple different things like that. So I get that all in right away. Um, and then about 30 minutes later, I eat my first meal. Um, and then 30 to 45 minutes after that, I start heading to the gym. And by the time I get there, it's about an hour 15 away from my first meal. So then I can just start training right away.
Nice. I do
Yeah.
not know what is happening right now.
Yeah, but the key to training in the morning is just having everything ready the night before.
Yeah, I could not agree more. That was the one thing I quickly found out was like trying, there we go. Trying to wake up and put everything together.
No, 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 no.
It works, but it sets you so far back. Whereas if you
Yeah.
just have it ready, you wake up, you do it, you go, you're out the door. Like tomorrow is my full in-person training day. So I have
Yep.
clients from like 5 a.m. until to noon. So 5 to noon, basically. I think I have 4 or 5 clients. I'm out the door at like 4 o'clock, so I can get my 30 minutes of cardio in. And I have to have all my meals stacked on top of each
Yeah.
other in the fridge. So
Yeah.
I just grab them, put them in my
Yep.
cooler. I have my morning drink, my greens and all that good stuff. Like that's already pre-shaken with my vitamins sitting right next to it. So I just wake up, pound that, take it, I'm out the door. And then if like it's 18 minutes and 12 of that is the drive to the gym. If
Yeah.
I don't have that stuff ready, I might as well not even try to do my
Yep.
cardio because I'm gonna
Yep.
get there with enough time to like turn the machine on and then my first client's there.
Yeah. No, it literally has to be down to like, dude, my shoes are positioned in the right
Mhm.
way where I can just slide them on.
Slide in and go. Yep.
Exactly. Um,
I do the exact yep. Bag is by the door, ready to
yep.
go. I put my
It,
shoes on, grab my
yeah.
bag, and we're moving.
Yeah, my bag for tomorrow is already set right now, you
Yep.
know?
That's what I'll be doing
Um,
when we get off. I gotta get all
yeah,
that stuff together.
and I set up all my vitamins, any
Yep.
type of gear, anything's all drawn and ready to go. It's all just like, um, it's a well-refined machine, right from the get-go, and,
And this is something that's really good. Even if you're training in the mornings, like this is an absolute must do. But this is something that I found in prep was a game changer. Like
yeah,
having my whole pill, Monday through Friday pill thing filled up every
yeah,
week. Having even I have like a little powder container that'll hold 3 days worth of powder. So that had all of my morning stuff in it. If
yep,
I didn't make it the night before, or if I had to just wake up and go, then I could at least grab that. And then I had everything I needed. But just like having these little things that don't seem like they're all that important, like literally not just having your shoes by the door but having them face the direction of you walking out the
yeah,
door,
dude, yeah,
like
everything.
all of it matters,
Yep.
all of it, and it saves so much time, whether
Well,
you're in prep or whether it's a morning thing or just an on the go, and that time stacks up.
yeah, and not only that, like the stress of having to prepare something in the morning
Hmm.
when you already know you're on a very refined schedule, like throw a curveball in there, lose your car keys real quick and
Yeah.
tell me that doesn't really screw up your day, and then
Oh yeah.
your cortisol's through the roof. By the time you get to the gym, you don't even want to work out, you're just
Hmm.
like you're all stressed and just sitting in your car. um yeah, everything is strategic, and I get to thank my wife for that because she'll help me prepare my meals a lot of the times while I'm at work. She'll be getting my food ready for the next day.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's a lot of teamwork goes into
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I have the ability to be able to do what I do, right? um training in the morning, literally 6 days a week, even Saturdays, same schedule. Um, and then working full time and coaching
Yep.
essentially is a full time job now. And I wouldn't be able to do that without that teamwork and her keeping the house strong and being able to set me up like that. Like, man, I mean, I could do it, but it would not be fun. It would be
Yeah.
very stressful, right? So yeah, I'm just really grateful for that.
That's awesome. And that actually that segues really well into what we're planning on talking about today.
Yeah.
I'll run us in real quick. I always like the pre chatter because we always there's always some good gems in there.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that'll segue really well. So I'll kick us off. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Bar with your host, Devon Grogans and Tommy John. Today we got a good one. We're talking about the cost of competition. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't consider. We were just talking about how important it is, whether you're in prep or out of prep, to have everything set aside, everything planned, and it just makes it easy to grab and go. But I feel like this is something that gets overlooked quite often.
Yeah, it is. And especially for first time competitors, um, they really don't know the full extent of everything that goes into it. Like
Mhm.
we're talking everything. The food, the gear, the supplements, the coach, that's all obvious stuff. And we're gonna touch on all that. But um when you boil down everything, there's a lot of money there. Um and just for everyone, so we're clear, when we do talk about costs, we're talking about actual dollars, when and not cost like life expense and
Time, yeah,
yeah, exactly.
by
Yeah, we're talking about actual US
currency.
currency. Yeah, exactly. So go ahead and run us in on your first topic of what you want to cover.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. I mean, one of the biggest things, obviously, is food. The importance of food, and I feel like whether you are in prep and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. But whether you're in prep or whether you are off season, improvement season, whatever you want to call it, food is one of the most prevalent expenses. I think that food gets more expensive in a prep versus the off season, partially because protein is higher. Usually your protein sources are better. In the off season, carbohydrates are a little bit higher. Rice is cheap. Potatoes are cheap, relatively I mean, right now nothing's cheap, but relatively speaking, compared
Yeah.
to proteins, I feel like you can actually get away with eating more food for a similar or less budget than you would on prep.
I'm
Um,
yeah, I'm
what are
actually
your thoughts?
I'm really glad you said that, because most people would think, "Well, you're dieting, you're eating less food." It's the opposite. No, I spend much more money during prep, um, on food. Um, not only that, like, I'll make different choices. Like, if let's say I'm gonna have red meat once a day during
Mhm.
prep. I'm getting the best red meat I
Yep.
can. I'm getting bison ribeye. It's like 25 bucks for 8 ounces. And I'm eating that once a day because I spoil myself during prep. Because if I'm eating red meat, I'm gonna go get my favorite one. Um, and that's normally like one of my last meal of the day. So like I'm gonna treat myself to that. It's gonna taste amazing. It's low in fat. It's high quality protein. Um, so yeah, and little stuff like that adds up. Just treating yourself to um, the highest quality, and that's not to say I don't do it year round, but during prep, sometimes you make different decisions.
Well, it's
Um,
a little different when, you're eating the exact same when variety is lower in a prep setting and
mhm.
really your only kind of splurge is to have your regular 97 or 96 ground beef
Yep.
or a high-end ribeye. yeah, I'm gonna spend the money to get a ribeye because that is of the variables all I have to choose from. It's not like an off season where it's like, well, do I want chicken breast that's kind of dry, or would I rather eat some chicken thighs?
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. During prep, I'm a little more picky
yeah,
on what I'm eating. During the off season, like you said, there's so much food that it doesn't matter. It's I just look at it as carbs, protein,
yep.
fats, right? During prep, it's like I don't know. I feel like it's going to affect my look or something. I'm just like just that much more particular on the types of food that I'm purchasing.
Yeah.
Um, let's give let's give people ballpark numbers of what you spend a week on food. Um, let's just say on average between prep and the progression or the off season,
Sure.
whatever season you want to call it. When you're not in competition prep that season, um, so what's a total average weekly on what you're spending on food?
Average, I would say I'm around 180, $200
Okay.
a week.
Hmm.
Because I know as a family, we're about I've done the math. It's pretty sad. We're about $330 a week. I am three quarters myself. I am about
Yeah.
three quarters of that bill. Um, so I'm about 100. I would say I'm about 60%. So 60 to 70. So yeah, I'm about 180 to $200 if I were to average it out per week.
Okay. I'm almost double that.
I could see that.
Yeah. I'm almost double that. Um, as a family, just slightly more. I'm like my food intake is probably 80% of the bill. Um, Landon doesn't eat much at all yet, obviously. And then Amanda just eats most of the stuff that I buy.
Yep.
She just eats the same foods that I do, just in, lower quantities. Um, yeah,
Now,
man.
for context, really quick, I am at competitive, I would say I average throughout the year about 215 pounds. So I'm a
Okay.
215-pound men's physique competitor, whereas Tommy, you are.
Yeah, I'm a 240 plus right now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and we are pushing food right now, and I'm just going through it. My body's just metabolizing food really well right now. So yeah, and here's another caveat is most of the time I'm using meal prep services to cook my proteins, right? So a lot of times I'm using like a MegaFit meals,
Gotcha.
and I'm ordering my protein cooked from them, and that's just to save Amanda time. When it Listen, if she's going to be preparing my meals, I want to make it as easy as for her as possible, right? Um, I will work the extra 2, 3 hours a week to cover that additional cost. It doesn't,
Right.
because people always ask me, they're like, isn't that a huge waste of money? And it's like, well, first, you don't know how much money I make, right? And that's not a flex. But
Right.
you don't know other people's finances, and they may not look the same as said person. Um, so you can't really ask someone that is that a waste of money, or because if that saves her and me, let's say an hour, let's say 4 hours total a week from preparing meats, right? That's
Mhm.
that's probably conservative, right?
Well,
Um,
not and exactly.
so if that saves us 4 hours a week, and that's 4 extra hours that she can have with my son, I can have with my son, like, tell me you can put a cost on that. Like,
Well, and to
people,
be fair, you can because those 4 hours, if the total of that meat
yeah,
equates to less than what you would make or about the same in 4 hours, then no, it's not a waste at all because it's
ex-
freeing up time for you to go do
exactly.
other things that
Yeah,
are probably going to make you more money because you're not
100%.
spending the time
Yeah.
making the food.
And here's the other thing, it's not that much more expensive.
Yeah.
It sounds expensive because people will look it up online and they'll say, well, a pound of chicken is $15 from MegaFit Meals or whatever it is. Okay, cool. What's a pound of organic chicken at the grocery store, anyways? Some 7, $8 maybe.
Yep.
This is a pound cooked, so its yield is actually 1 pound.
Yeah.
So you empty it out of the container, it weighs 1 pound. Go cook your chicken, reweigh it, and tell me you got a pound. You didn't. So,
Well, and even then, if you were to break that down, okay, we'll say a pound's $15.
mhm,
If you buy that same pound at the store for $7 and then you spend an hour making it,
yeah,
uh, what is that hour? Let's say you make $30 an hour.
sure.
Okay. So now instead of $15 for 1 pound, you've just spent $37 essentially
Yeah,
on that same
exactly.
pound of chicken.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, it's not a waste because for $30, you could have got 2 pounds and not had to deal with cooking any of it.
Yeah, and it's all perspective. I remember I was in this meeting for work once, this training, and it was a Zoom call like this, and I was drinking a Starbucks drink, and the guy called me out in front of the whole meeting. He's like, "How's that $6 bean water?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "How's that $6 bean water?" And I said, "It's really good." And he said, "Oh," he's like, How do you feel about spending $6 on, coffee that probably costs them 30 cents?" And I said, "Can I tell you something?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "My wife and I walked to Starbucks, and we got this coffee together. We walked back home. We had great conversation. We shared laughs. Um, this coffee, this $6 coffee, might have just added years to my marriage, and that may add years to my life." So he said, "What you see is a $6 bean water. I see as a memorable moment that I shared with my wife that could add years to our marriage and my life. So is that worth $6 now?" And all of a sudden, he didn't really have much to say. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, just sometimes you need to put things into different perspective before you call people out on it, right? Um, because I can justify the cost of anything. I'm really good at that. And sometimes doing it in poor decisions, but
Oh, yes.
I'm really good at it. But anyways, I just wanted to share that story. Next time you go to judge someone on how they're making a purchase, whether it's premium, economy, mid range, everyone purchases differently.
Hmm.
Take a
And for
step
different
back.
reasons.
Yeah, take a step back and be like, okay, well, they just purchase things different than I do. Maybe it's how they're raised, right? You and I have both talked about how we didn't come from a lot of money, right? So nowadays, I do tend to purchase more premium because I want things to last. I want quality things. And that's because I didn't come from a lot of money. Some people are the opposite. They don't come from a lot of money, so they want to hold on to all the money they get. And that's okay. It's not wrong. But you just need to understand before you judge people on why they're doing what they do, right? So,
For
yeah, so
sure.
we'll call it between the two of us, let's say $300 a week. Is that
That's about
fair?
right. So about
Okay.
300 a week. So $1,200 a month that you're going to be looking at spending in food. What
Yep.
would you say is the next expense?
Um, Coaching.
Nice. And we'll
Yeah.
just assume like we'll figure the basics, your membership, gym membership, 40 to $80 if you don't work out at home, but 40 to
Sure.
$80 maybe a month. Obviously gas, obviously like all of that's considered. This list that we're going to be kind of curating will be things that most people don't think about. So we got food. Second one you said is coach. I'll let you go ahead
Yep.
and dive into that one.
So let's talk about coaching. In my opinion, it's mandatory for competition prep. That's just my opinion. And it's not because I'm a coach. I don't care if you hire me. I don't care if you hire Devon. Um, we would like you to hire us. But the thing is, um, I personally think it should be done with a coach. And because when you want something done right, you hire a professional. I don't know how else to say that nicely. If you want something done right and you want to pay for the correct service, you hire someone who is a professional, who's done it a million times and done it very well, right?
Now, I
Um,
will say there's something to be said about prepping yourself, and
yeah.
that's okay. But
Mhm.
I have always been a firm believer in exactly what you're saying. And I don't want to take and run with this too much yet, but I just wanted to throw the caveat in. Like, if you feel like you want to prep yourself to learn your body and better understand, that's okay. If you want to streamline the process, hire a coach.
Yeah, and that's a different way of making the selection. Don't don't say you're prepping yourself because coaches are a waste of money. But if you're saying I'm prepping myself for the experience, you bought Scott Stevenson's book, How to Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach, and you want to go out and try it. That's awesome, dude. I love that. There's a million things that Devin and I have messed up on our own and that we can own up to. But we both agree that if we would have hired a coach very early on, we could have saved ourselves a lot of time. So, on average, what are you seeing? Let's just do annual, right? Because I think for the off season you should have a coach as well.
I
Um,
I will say this before we go any further really quick.
yeah,
I did not see the progress in my physique until I kept my coach year round.
yeah,
I was a person who thought I only needed a coach when it was time to compete.
mhm,
Then every single time my coach either had to undo something that I had done
yeah,
or had to relearn my body
yeah,
because things changed. No two preps are ever the same.
no,
And so we didn't have that time in the off season to see how my body was adjusting as we were going. And it wasn't until I had a coach year round that I started making considerable leaps year to year.
yeah,
So,
same,
uh,
same, 100%. Yeah, no, that was said really well because um, there's just something about it, just having that professional take your own opinion out of it. Let a professional look at it and be like, okay, they're tracking all the data for you. Your job is just to be a good little soldier and give the information as well as you can. Follow the plan. That's great. Who doesn't love that? I mean,
right. Well, and
y- y-
especially if you have a family or you have other things outside of bodybuilding that
sure.
require your attention, it's one less thing for you to have to try and worry about. They handle the X's and O's, like we always say, and your job is to just execute. And so it takes all of the guesswork out. I don't have to worry what my macros are going to be for the upcoming week. I lost 2 pounds. What does that look? I don't worry about it. I don't
Yeah.
care because they got it. So all I have to do is follow the plan given to me.
Yeah. I never check the engine in my car. I just assume it was manufactured correctly, and I just get in it and I start the thing and I drive it to where I need to go, and I just maintain it, right?
Yep.
That's my job as a vehicle owner. Um, that's your job as a bodybuilder. You put it in someone else's hands, you give the feedback, you maintain it, you take care of it, and someone else is turning the dials and things like that. As far as average costs annually for a coach, I'm seeing anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 a year.
I was gonna say about
Agree or
22
disagree?
to
Okay.
4,500, but 2 to
Okay.
5's that's a good spread.
Okay, so let's find ourselves in the middle and let's say 3250
Okay.
a year annually for coach. So that would be, let's see. So we're going to do 3250. That puts us about, we'll call it 270 a month.
Yeah, that's about right.
Um yeah, so we got 1200 for food, 270 for coach, and then let's talk about um, gear and supplements,
Yeah,
and we'll make it very simple. We're not gonna dig into protocols. We're not gonna dig into where to get things. Nothing like that.
yeah.
Um, On average, it's gonna be a hard number to answer. What do you think you spend a month, for things like that in comp and let's say competition and off season. Let's try to just find, like, a weird average number.
Average.
Yeah.
Okay, so supplements don't change a whole lot. My basic supplements don't really, as far as like pre-workout protein, all of my ancillaries, vitamins, micronutrients. I'm somebody who's I always find good products for good prices.
Mhm.
Or I'll buy in bulk. So because I know I'm going to be using it. So when it comes to just we can call them over-the-counter supplements. I'm probably on a monthly basis, if I had to average it out, about 150, maybe 200. Again, most of what I buy lasts me months at a time. But I'd say about 150 to 200.
And that's with your health supplements, fish oil.
That's all just the OTC subs. Yeah, so that's my
Okay.
fish oil. Now, if we're incorporating like the super supplements
Yep.
or gear,
Yep.
um, maybe another 80, no, about 150.
Okay.
So yeah, so about 300 a month,
Okay.
roughly, if I had to average it between prep and off season.
I'm at least double that. And that doesn't everyone's like, "Oh, this guy runs a lot of gear." No, it's really a lot of health supplements that I
Yeah.
use, and I use them in high doses, right?
See, and I was just gonna say, having seen what you sent me from
Yeah,
AJ,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
100 per your I'll call it a rap sheet. Your
yeah,
rap sheet is about 2 to 3 times what I take. I
yeah,
take the basics. I take my fish oil, my protein, creatine. I mean, I could probably list it all off on two hands.
yeah,
In contest prep, there's a little bit more, but I will say it's far less than what I know you take, and
yeah,
that's not a
so
bad thing.
no, 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 it's not. So we're gonna say we're gonna find ourselves somewhere in the middle, and we're just gonna say 500. Um, the other thing is I do use a Serostim, so that adds a lot of extra costs that not everyone is gonna accrue. So we're just gonna call it 500, which is aggressive. But that covers all the health supplements, and that we're gonna throw blood work in that mix too.
I like that.
Yeah, so
And
that's gonna cover blood work.
the other thing to keep in mind too is at the end of all this, the number that we get, if that number seems astronomical, that's
Mhm.
probably closer to the ceiling, but that's not far off from what you should expect to spend.
Yeah, we wanna be over. We
Yeah,
wanna be over what you're I guarantee we're gonna be over what you're anticipating, but we'd rather have it that way than cut you short,
yeah.
because we wanna show you that this is a large expense. This hobby, is a very large expense. So we're not trying to scare anyone away from it. We just want to be
No, it's the
realistic.
facts.
It's the facts, yeah. So you pick our next category.
All right, so I'm gonna lump these partially for time and partially just because I think they all kind of go together anyway. So we're gonna talk cost of show. So
Yeah,
your entry fee,
yep,
this will exclude travel. So we will assume this is a local show and
perfect,
we can add in some of those others. But we'll say it's local within the fact that you could drive to it. So a couple of hours.
perfect.
That's gonna be your entry fee, your tanning,
Yep,
and suit cost.
yep. Entry, tanning, suit cost. If you want stage photos,
Oh yeah.
we can include that.
We'll keep that
Um,
as an option.
yep. And then, that covers most of it besides, like, skincare and things like that. Obviously, you gotta buy razors, you gotta be shaving your body, taking care of your skin. A lot of the times you're tanning outside of the competition too, like in tanning beds,
Mhm.
to get kind of a base tan going. the body tans much better when you kind of have a base tan going. Devon doesn't
Yep.
have to worry about that. He's got good
I
skin.
funny enough, I
Do
still
you?
do.
Okay. Yeah.
I tan if and so for me, I usually won't go to a bed, but I have a
Okay.
rub on like a sunless tanner that I'll use the week or two prior, and it
Mm,
will darken the actual tan that I get and make me look a lot better.
okay.
The first couple shows I didn't. I just went and got sprayed, and it looked okay. And
Yeah.
then a friend of mine who is an esthetician and did a lot of my spray tanning, because most of the time she had a better color than what the shows were using. She said, I want you to try using this for 2 weeks before I spray you again.
Hmm.
And I did, and the color came out 10 times better.
Nice.
So
That's
yeah,
interesting.
even for us colored folk, and
Yeah.
that includes Skip, get
Yeah,
that
yeah,
base tan.
exactly. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the guys are a bit more simple. But a lot of guys get their beards done by a barber, or if you're a classic guy, a lot of times you still have hair and you'll get your hair done, things like that. So we'll kind of include all that stuff in this one big category. Um, NPC card, you're going to need
That's right.
it. Yep. So you're going to need that on top of the entry fees. So let's talk about um, a guy entering two different classes. He's going to do the open, and he's going to do men's physique, right? So he's
Hmm.
going to do both of those classes. It's his first show. He needs his NPC card, tanning. Now needs two trunks because he chose two divisions. So you go and kind of give me an idea of what you're thinking.
So NPC card, right there, I believe you're about $150. That one's good for the year.
Yeah.
So you're 150 on that. Trunks, I know for men's physique, a good pair runs about $80.
Okay.
Uh Bodybuilding, you're probably about the same, 60 to 80, I would think, right
Yeah,
in
and
there for decent trunks.
a lot of the times I recommend getting two.
Yep.
Black for prejudging, and then if you want something more fancy for the finals, you can do that. So between the two, we'll say 150 bucks for that stuff.
That seems about
Um,
right.
yeah,
I also recommend usually get if it's a first or second show, I usually recommend two pairs of board shorts because you'll find that one, you might really like a color, and this probably goes the same for bodybuilding, is you might
yeah,
like one color, but it won't look as good as you anticipate once it's on you and you're darker and you're under the lights. So, but
yeah,
for the sake of argument, we'll say $80 for a pair,
yep,
about 150 for two pairs of posing trunks, 150 for your NPC card,
yep,
and then it's usually we'll average it about 150. I know most of the shows out here range between 140 to 160 for an entry fee,
yep,
and that price does not usually get discounted if you want to do more divisions. So it's
no,
not like 150 for the first and then 70 and then no, it's 150, and we'll average and say 150 and 150. So that's 300 if you're
yep,
doing two classes.
yep. That sounds right. Out
Tanning,
outside tanning. Um, I don't know. It's pretty cheap. I think I buy like 12 sessions for I don't know, like 50 bucks or something, and for the tanning bed.
no, I
Um,
will say, yeah. So that's outside, and then tanning at the show. I have been to some shows where if you do not use their tanning, they will not glaze you backstage. I about
yeah,
had a conniption. I was getting ready to go on, and the lady goes, "Let me see your wristband." And I was like, "What wristband?" She goes, "Oh, that means you didn't get tanned from us, so I can't glaze you." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I said, "I will go get $20 and pay you
yeah,
$20 to glaze me." And she ended up being super cool. She was like, "Sweetie, I can't let you go out. You look dry. Let me just get this."
yeah,
And
yeah,
I still offered to pay her, but there are like in Pittsburgh um for nationals, if you did not use their tanning, they absolutely would not glaze you at that level of a show. They were super serious about it too. So,
That's
and I think that
wild.
was around $200. Granted, they kind of raise the prices because they know people are going to have to pay it, but you're about 150 in tanning, and then your outside tanning, like you said, it's about $50 for a good package of 10 to 12.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. We'll just throw in like if you need to buy new razors and stuff to shave your body. A lot of guys don't keep up with that year round. So you might have to buy some products for that. We'll just call that, $30, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we'll just group all that stuff together. What are we missing? That covers a lot of it.
The only
Um,
other thing would be optional would be photos. And a lot of times, depending on who's shooting, if you got a local guy, it could be anywhere as low as 75 to $100. If you got somebody like
yeah,
Gilco, you're paying about 250 to $500 if you want,
is it
4K
really?
video and yeah, some of that other stuff. So that one's tough, but I would just say, and that's something you can completely get away with not buying. The NPC does a pretty good job of posting very high quality photos
Yeah, they
on
do.
on the website. So this would be more so if you just wanted something and more photos specifically for you.
Yeah,
So I would say we probably won't group that in because it's not a must have.
no,
But as an understanding, anywhere from about 100 to $400 for professional stage photos.
yeah. Um, if you
Oh, and
have,
feet real quick.
go ahead.
So board shorts, $50 to $80. Bodybuilding trunks, classic physique trunks, 50 to
Yep.
$80. If you are a woman, expect
Yeah,
to spend about a minimum of
yeah,
$180 for an okay suit.
yeah, and that has nothing to do with hair, makeup. Women, they
Basically
are
double this
double or
number.
triple. Yeah, double,
Yeah, triple's
double or
probably a
triple.
good call.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say
by the
triple
time
that number for women.
you get nails done, jewelry, makeup, hair, all that stuff. Women have it rough. They have it's very expensive for their show days. Um, Even comes down to a lot of the women I know even buy like an outfit for in between, you know,
Yep,
whatever. When they're backstage, they want their outfit to match their posing suit
yep,
and things like that. Um, Nothing wrong with that. It's just what they want to do. They want to spoil themselves that day because they worked hard to get there. So,
absolutely.
yeah. So for women, add several hundreds of dollars to the monthly total I'm about to give out. First, we're gonna have you guess it. What do you think?
So one more thing I'm going to throw
Yeah,
in with this, and this is a fluctuating piece. So just whatever number we end up with, add this to the top, and that is any type of traveling requirements and hotel. If you're
yeah.
traveling 3 4 hours away, I highly recommend getting a hotel because you're going to have to get there the night before.
Oh yeah,
The
get a
last thing
hotel.
you want to do is
Yeah,
sleep in your car. Now, we have a couple of shows that are within about an hour or two, but it's still nice to have a place to stay in between shows because if you're off stage at 10 a.m. and you don't have to be back until 5 p.m., you don't
yeah.
want to sit at the local restaurant or at the venue for
No,
that entire time. You want a place you can actually lay down and relax. So I say all that just to say add about $400 to $500 for travel, and that's on the low end for travel and hotel accommodations.
yeah.
We'll assume that it's just a 1 or 2 night hotel that you're grabbing. But if I had to put all of these things together, I would say, let's see, 5,000 to 3,400 to 5,000. Well, that's a big spread. All right, I'll go 3,400 to 4,200.
For
So about an
monthly.
$800 swing.
For you're saying monthly?
Oh, monthly.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Do try to break all this into like a monthly,
Okay.
just
Okay.
over the entire year. Um, 'Cause we did the coaching based off annual. So, what I did was kind of just group everything into 1 year, and I broke it
Gotcha.
down. Yeah, so this is gonna throw you off because it wasn't easy for
Okay.
you to calculate now.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Then
so
in that case, I need to just make a quick adjustment because
Yep.
I had in my head coaching monthly, so let me just double that. Um, all right, I'm gonna say 575. No, yeah, no, because that was monthly too. Holy cow. $1,100.
Yeah, we're closer to 2 grand, dude. Two
I
two
mean, it makes sense. Some of the stuff I wrote down, it was monthly, some of it was
yeah.
annual. That
I'm
makes
I'm
total
glad.
sense.
I wanted you to be off because,
Yeah,
I was tracking it as we go, and I was turning it into monthly. The number I came up with is about $2,050. Um, that's
that
a
is
month.
that
So
seems very, very on point.
So you're talking anywhere from 24 to $35,000 a year to be a local, national, whatever, non-professional bodybuilder. And these numbers plus or minus 20%, right?
Yeah,
They're going to swing. Not everyone has to hire, specific coaches. Obviously, bigger name coaches are going to cost more. Um, you can probably get posing trunks,
$20.
cheaper. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can probably.
Supplements. I mean, if you went with the bare minimum
Yeah,
supplements, you could cut that number in half. If you're not running anything outside of over-the-counter supplements,
sure.
you could cut that number in a quarter.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So we're not saying that you can't do it for much more budget, economy wise, but like, yeah, I mean, I would say 24 grand, all the
and I
way up to
will
35 grand.
and I will say this, if you are a national level or plan to go to compete at the national level, expect to spend these numbers that we are putting out. I can tell you right now, Pittsburgh alone,
Yeah,
I'll just say this. My trip to Disney, flying my entire family,
yeah,
staying for 5 days, and going to Disney 2 of those 5 days was less expensive than my 3-day trip to compete at Pittsburgh.
yep, yeah.
So
I I
just
I 100% believe that. Um, this is why I crack jokes at bodybuilding. But at the same time, it gives us so much more than just the competition.
oh,
Um,
absolutely.
life lessons, blah blah blah. We could go on about that forever. But yeah, guys, we're talking 24 grand to up to 35 grand a year, um, to be potentially a national level, um, or new professional bodybuilder. So
Yep.
start start
Start
making more
saving.
money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Before we go,
Yeah.
this was actually I really like this one. This is a good episode. I think.
It
But I want to
was.
try to
Yeah.
squeeze in a couple of questions really quick and we'll see if
Yeah.
we can do them. We'll see if we can do them quickly.
Yep.
Because I know it's getting late for you and I got to start dinner and get all my stuff for tomorrow. But there was a few that I saw last time. This one specifically is for you. How much of an influence has AJ or previous coaches had on your own? I guess I could answer this too. So, how much of an influence has previous coaches been to your coaching career and strategies with your clients? What is one big takeaway that you've had?
Oh yeah. I mean, they've been hugely influential on that. Um, I use, obviously I'm a team skip approved trainer. So that within itself, um, there's heavy influence from skip and how I program diets. And you know, I'm learning a lot from AJ. Some of those things slowly trickle in for my clients as I see fit. Um, as That's just like the logistical stuff of like actual building out diets, building out training, blah blah blah. None of that stuff. All that stuff's fun and great and dandy. Between AJ and Skip, they are not that different. Um, they're both extremely intelligent. Their concepts are very similar in actual dieting and things like that. Um, I want to do a full episode on this one day because someone asked me to. They're like,
Yeah,
can you and Devon talk about the difference between, they specifically said AJ and Skip, but we can go into other coaches that we've worked with and things like that. So I
absolutely.
do want
I
to
think
do
that's
a
a great
full
one.
episode on that. Um, the biggest thing I learned from those two guys is constantly just how to be a better person.
Yep.
Um, the bodybuilding stuff, like, yeah, I just execute like we tell you guys to do. I want to learn how to become a better communicator, how to become a better husband. I want to learn those things from those guys. Um, and the bodybuilding stuff just is like the cherry on top. Um, Obviously, I hired them to be my bodybuilding coach, but like I learned so much from both of them, that like the bodybuilding I almost just kind of put like in the back burner and just autopilot it. Um, I'm learning from them, hey, look out for these things when you're dealing with a client that does X, Y, and Z, right? That's always really helpful. That's the in the trenches stuff that, you know, someone can save you a lot of time. I do it with new technicians in the heating and air field, right? Hey, let me show you this little thing. You know how I know this? Oh, because I've screwed it up before. So let me
Hmm.
save you a lot of time by just showing you this little thing. Those are the types of things from both Skip and AJ that I really take dearest to my heart. And those are the types of things that will make me a better person moving forward. As far as being a better coach, that's obvious. Both those two have, built me into the coach that I am, right now. I will just continue to improve as I, you know, further my relationship with those guys. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The bodybuilding stuff puts to the back. I'm learning so much more stuff from them on a deeper level than just bodybuilding.
I love it. And that's, I mean, honestly, I'm very much in the same boat. I learned a lot from Skip. It was funny. The first time I actually met Skip in person, um, I was telling him about how I stumbled across skip loading. And I was in a phase where I was doing uh different types of diets that I was just kind of trying out to see what I liked, what I could implement. And I remember I was really depleted. I'd gone a long time without any sort of refeeds, anything like that. And so I had one refeed and it seemingly didn't do anything. So I had another one. And then the next day I was like, oh, okay, this made a little bit of a difference. I then waited another week so that I could test against the same parameters. And then I did three. And I'm like, oh shit, this is working even better.
Right.
Then I was listening to old podcast from bodybuilding nerds, I think it was back when it
Mhm.
was Scott and VJ. And then
VJ. Yeah.
they had Skip. They called him, I think it was S2H. There was like
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
Scotts. There
It's
was
another
Scott
Scott.
Stevens.
Yep.
Yep, Skip. And so I was listening to one of the episodes and he was talking about skip loading and how he kind of does it. And I'm like, wait a second, that sounds like what I'm doing, but he clearly knows way more about it. So I went down a I mean, I was reading threads from like Matt Porter and Skip going back
Yeah.
and forth like
Yeah.
10, 15
Yeah.
years ago. And
Yep.
I remember I had it saved on my phone. Like I literally had a folder that was just like skip loading stuff that I had found on Elite ETS that he had written.
Yeah.
And I remember I showed him that and he was like, no shit, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Um, so I learned a better understanding of how to skip load. That was really cool. So that's one really big takeaway that I took from skip. But more important, and just like you, a lot of my philosophies, how I write out my plans are kind of similar. But then again, I see a lot of different coaches, and there's not much difference between them all.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me ask you this.
yeah.
And this is about Skip specifically. Um, has he taught you, this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned from him, how to just like self-reflect better than you knew was possible. Like,
Oh yeah.
for example, like one of the biggest things I learned from Skip was just being blatantly clear on what you're trying to say, whether
Hmm.
that's giving instruction on something or, asking a question or trying to explain something, like just being as clear as possible as to what you're trying to get across. So that was one thing. Do you share that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And he did it in such a way. It's something I do with my clients now is rather than just giving me an answer to something, he would ask me a question that
Yeah.
would require me to really think
Self-reflect.
yeah,
Yep.
self-reflect and think
Yep.
internally, like, and oddly enough, I would always work it out myself. So I dropped back from 6 days of training to five. And
Yeah.
then he told me, hey, let's pull back to four. And I did that for like a week or two. And I said, hey, I really feel like I need an extra 1 second. My dog's
Yep.
going crazy. Let me let her out.
You're good.
So I said, oh, I feel like I need an extra day of training. And he said, okay, well, what is it that you think you need to train? And I was like, well, I'd really like to throw in an arm day. He said, okay, well, let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
And he said, what is it? He said, do you feel like you need the extra arm day because you're not training hard enough, or you're training too hard on the other days that you just don't have enough left to effectively train your arms?
Mhm.
Or do you feel like you just need to be in the gym to be in the gym?
Yeah.
And as soon as I read that, I was like, damn.
Yeah, he's like your reverse Uno card. Like
Yeah.
that's Ken Hill, the reverse Uno card. I
Because I mean, really, it's okay, either A, I'm not training hard
yeah,
enough
yeah,
and that's why I need another day, or B, I want to be in the gym just because I mentally want to be in the gym, not because I
yeah.
need it.
No, yeah, and it's such a good trait to develop. And yeah, I can give him a lot of credit for that. I've had, life stuff come up where I go to skip and like, dude, X, Y, and Z is happening. I don't know what to do. And he'd be like, well, is that happening because of something you did wrong? He would say it like more strategically and more
Mhm,
polite than that. But that's what it would boil down to is like, oh, wait, like, yeah, you're probably right. I probably caused this situation, right?
mhm.
So yeah, that's a drawn out answer to that question, but um, I think that covers, what I would want to say about it.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're running long, but I think it was a great episode nonetheless. I appreciate the time as always. That does it for another episode of Beyond the Bar with your host Devon Grogans and Tommy John. Tommy, tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, Tommy John Coaching on Instagram. You can find me at TommyJohnCoaching.com. You can inquire for coaching there. And then I'm a moderator over in the Chase Irons Discord group. That group, we got a lot of guys in there now, answering questions 24/7. Lots of good advice in there. Lots of places you can find for things that you guys need, all sorts of stuff in there. So good place to be, good community, everything like that. So how about you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram, dgrow39, or my website, Next Level Physiques. That's nxtlevel-training.com, or Devin at nxtlevel-training.com.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next one.